You ever look at a brand new piece of furniture, something straight out of a box, and think, this looks entirely too hopeful. It's too perfect. It hasn't seen the world yet. It's like a pair of white sneakers on a rainy day. It just makes me uncomfortable.
So your solution to a nice clean piece of work is to essentially attack it with chemicals and sandpaper until it looks like it survived a house fire?
Well, when you put it like that, it sounds like a cry for help. But there's a soul in something that looks like it's been sitting in a Mediterranean courtyard for 40 years. Today, we're talking about patina. Not just the stuff that happens when you leave a shovel in the grass, but the intentional kind, the kind where we play God with oxidation.
I've seen some of your intentional aging, Tiger. Sometimes it looks like a museum piece, and sometimes it looks like you accidentally spilled battery acid on a coffee table. Where's the line?
The line is usually found about 3 o'clock in the morning when you realize you didn't neutralize the acid. That's the magic right there. That's verdigris. It's what happens when copper, bronze, or brass decides it's tired of being shiny and wants to start looking like an ancient Roman artifact. But people think you just buy a bottle of old and wipe it on. In reality, it's closer to chemistry class than carpentry.
Okay, let's start with the basics for people like me who don't want to ruin a weekend's worth of woodworking. If I have a wooden vessel, say something maple, or even just a nice piece of plywood, how am I making that look like metal that's seen better days?
David Marks is the king of this. He does this hybrid thing that's basically a lie told with paint and metal leaf. You start by sealing the wood. White pigmented shellac is great because it's like a door that only opens one way. Nothing from the wood's oils is going to come up and ruin your party later.
So you're building a foundation. You aren't just slapping copper paint on a raw board.
Oh, heavens no. That's how you get a finish that peels off like a bad sunburn. You seal it, then you layer. You use Japan colors, which for the uninitiated are just oil-based pigments that dry flatter and faster than a pancake on a sidewalk. The trick is layering colors. Red, then black, then maybe a deep ochre. Then you sand through them. It's like archaeology in reverse. You're intentionally thinning the top layer to let the history underneath peek through.
It sounds like the Japanese urushi technique. Very intentional. But at what point does the actual metal come in?
That's the gilding. Once you've got your painted base looking appropriately moody, you apply metal leaf, real copper or bronze leaf. And here's the kicker. Once that leaf is down, you hit it with mild acids.
And this is where the shop disaster part of the story usually begins, isn't it?
Well, I once decided to speed up the process by using a much stronger acid than the manual suggested. I thought if a 5% solution takes 4 hours, a 30% solution should take 20 minutes. I walked away to get a coffee, came back, and the metal leaf hadn't just patinated, it had vanished. It literally dissolved into a puddle of green goo that was currently eating its way into the maple substrate. I didn't have a vase anymore. I had a chemistry experiment that smelled like a swamp.
So, for those of us who want to keep our metal leaf actually on the project, what's the right way? I keep seeing these patina kits online, the Dixie Belle stuff or Sculpt Nouveau. Are those cheating?
It's only cheating if you're trying to win a contest for hardest way to do things. Those kits are brilliant because they've stabilized the reaction. Take the Dixie Belle system. They have patina paint, which is literally just a suspension of real metal particles, iron, bronze, copper. You paint that on any surface, wood, glass, plastic, and then you spritz it with their patina spray.
Wait, so the spray is the activator?
Exactly, it's the catalyst. If you use the iron paint and the green spray, you get real textural rust in a matter of hours. Not rust-colored paint, but actual oxidized iron. It's tactile. You can feel the grit of the decay.
I've noticed people often forget the prep work on metal, though. If you're starting with actual sheet metal, you can't just spray and pray, right?
If you don't degrease metal, you might as well be trying to paint a stick of butter. Your fingerprints contain enough oil to act as a resist. You'll end up with a beautiful weathered finish everywhere, except where your thumb touched the piece 2 hours ago. You'll have a permanent ghost of your own handprint mocking you. Use a heavy-duty degreaser, and for the love of all that is holy, wear gloves. Once it's clean, don't touch it.
And what about the prime start stuff I see mentioned? Is that just a way to sell more bottles?
No, that's the insurance policy. If you're putting a patina on a metal surface, that acid reaction doesn't know when to stop. If you're patinating a steel cabinet to look like copper, the acid can soak through and start corroding the actual structure of the cabinet. Prime Start acts as a chemical barrier. It says the party stays on the surface, no eating the furniture.
Let's pivot back to wood for a second. Sometimes I don't want the crusty shipwreck look. Sometimes I just want that this chair has been in a library for 200 years vibe. The time-worn oak look.
Ah, the George III aesthetic. That's more about depth than decay. For that, you're looking at things like milk paints and glazes. Amy Howard is the go-to for this. You aren't trying to make it look like metal. You're trying to make it look like it's been handled by 6 generations of people with slightly oily hands.
That sounds much less glamorous when you put it that way.
It's the truth. A patina on wood is just a polite way of saying a century of dust, wax, and friction. To faking it, you start with a base coat, usually something light, and then you use a glazed over product. You apply a darker glaze, then wipe it off. The glaze stays in the pores and the scratches.
It's all about the negative space of the furniture, the corners, the carvings.
Exactly. You want it to look like the light has bleached the flat surfaces and the shadows have collected in the crevices. And then the secret weapon, wax. But not just clear wax. Use a dark wax or a dust of ages powder. You're essentially applying fake dirt into the corners. It sounds crazy to spend 60 hours building a perfect cabinet and then spend 2 hours rubbing dirt into the joints, but that's where the soul lives.
Is there a risk of overdoing it? I feel like I see a lot of shabby chic stuff that just looks like someone got overexcited with a jar of gray paint.
We call that the Pinterest fever. The mistake people make is being too uniform. Nature is chaotic. If you're aging a piece of wood, think about where it would actually wear. The edges of the table where arms rest should be smoother and lighter. The areas around the drawer pulls should be slightly darker from finger oils. If you just sand the 4 corners of a dresser, it doesn't look old. It looks like you had a mishap during delivery.
What about the safety side? You mentioned dissolving your vase earlier. If people are playing with these activators and liver of sulfur or ammonia at home, what should they be thinking about?
Ventilation is your best friend. Some of these reactions, especially the ones involving sulfur or strong vinegars, can create fumes that will make your workshop smell like a disgruntled volcano. I always work near a wide open door with a fan behind me. And goggles. You only get 2 eyes, but you can buy 1,000 pieces of copper. If you get a splash of patina activator in your eye, you're going to have a very bad, very blurred afternoon.
Okay, let's say I've done it. I've weathered my metal, I've glazed my wood, and it looks perfect. How do I stop the clock? How do I make sure it stays this level of old and doesn't just keep rotting away?
This is the most critical step. You have to lock the door. For metal, once the color is exactly where you want it, you have to neutralize the reaction. Usually that's a water rinse or a specific neutralizer. Then you seal it. A high quality lacquer is the standard for metal. It cuts off the oxygen. No oxygen, no more oxidation.
And for the wood?
A good hard wax oil or a dead flat varnish. You want something that doesn't add a plastic shine. Nothing kills the illusion of an antique faster than a thick, glossy coat of polyurethane. It's like putting a tuxedo on a pirate. It just doesn't fit. You want a finish that looks like it's in the wood, not on it.
So, what's the big takeaway for someone who's staring at a shiny new project and a bottle of activator?
Start small. Don't test your patina on the heirloom rocking chair you just finished. Get some scraps of the same material. Treat those scraps like your test pilots. See how they react. Leave them overnight. Sometimes a patina looks great at hour 1, but by hour 12, it's turned a color that hasn't been seen since the Victorian era.
And keep the handprints off the metal.
Unless you want your legacy to be a permanent thumbs up on your copper coffee table.
I think I'll pass on that. Next time, can we talk about how to fix things when the acid actually eats through the floor?
That's a separate episode titled How to Explain Things to the Landlord. But really, the heartbeat of this craft is realizing that time is a tool, just like a chisel or a welder. We're just finding ways to borrow a few decades when we don't have the patience to wait.
Well, I've got the patience of a toddler in a candy store, so pass me that copper spray.
Just put your goggles on first.